All right, coffee check, audio check. Y'all let me know how good I sound. And I'm going to report to you that that coffee is delicious. Right. All right. I'm waiting on that sound check. Audio is excellent. Thank you, Seema Dragon. All right. Let's see. Well, tonight's the time we're going to spend together tonight's all about continuing on with the question A, the advanced session that we started 2 nights ago. So there's no sense in waiting. We ought to just get straight up into it after I thank my moderators, Mr. C and Rusty Woodpecker, Don Hart and Nelson Perez, Jamie Robbins, Shiva Shampoo. There's Merrill Gigi. I just sent you an email, Merrill, about 30 minutes ago. Let's see. Nelson Perez, Rayad Ali, Jay Hart. How you doing? All right, guys. I might be missing a few. Not many. It's all good, though. We'll get 1,000 in the chat quick. We had some really good questions, albeit, some of them just weren't real deep, and that's okay because it seemed like everybody was having a good time. Nobody had any complaints, so that's fine too. But believe me, you can put me to the test. We can go deeper. All right, Kyle Roising, how you pronounce that? Merrill, go deep. A partially unanswered question from the other night was, hey, Jason, here's my question. If the simulation is periodically edited, do you think that the Phoenix timeline can too be altered? Thank you for the great work. Okay. Whether I think it can or cannot is irrelevant. I have many times presented evidence to you that we're living in 2 different realities coexisting at the exact same time. In a holo field, this is absolutely possible because all frames of reference are absolutely dependent upon vantage points. It's like a kaleidoscope. It's a beautiful thing, but as soon as you twist it just a little bit, it changes the form. Now, all you have to do is think about that from a different perspective. When you change your coordinates, your world also change what the data that you take in. So there are fundamental protocols that do not seem to change over thousands of years. These are things that are commonalities that you and I can agree upon, and there would be no one in the world who could these are absolute truths. Don't buy into the nihilistic philosophical BS that absolutely nothing is true, because that's wrong. Because if I take a dagger and I hit you in the stomach, I promise you it's going to hurt. It's going to do some serious damage. And we all agree that pain hurts. We all agree that fire burns. We all agree that ice is frozen water. It is a solid made from a liquid simply by a change of temperature. So if we have things that are axiomatic in our existence that we can all agree on, we can agree that without technology, if you want to get around anywhere, you need to walk. We all agree on. We've been walking for thousands of years. There's many fundamentals that are transcontinental. Some of them are transracials. Some of them are they're basically omnipresent throughout the entire construct dealing with all humans. There are some things that are only agreed by certain cultures, but we have to agree that the axiomatic things that are in this world are agreed by all, such as you are born, such as you will die. Now, I'm speaking from the perspective of a pure materialist who believes that they are their body, and that in that life and death has any particular attachment to the immortal soul, which it does not. It is only the catharsis. It is the cocoon. It is the chrysalis that matures. It is the actual shell of an immortal that goes through all these stages and then dies because the immortal doesn't need it. It's like a snake. It slows off the old skin that it no longer needs, and it has a new shiny one. So, and this is probably another reason why a lot of times in the epics, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, we find that immortality is always associated to a serpent. This is something that Gilgamesh found real quick. So you asked me about the Phoenix on that question. Do you think the Phoenix timeline could be altered too? Thank you for your great work. I don't believe it can be altered. I believe every 138 years the Phoenix phenomenon occurs. What I believe, though, is depending upon where humans in the collective are at that time, what changes is the magnitude, not the timing. Phoenix is the keeper of the calendar. What I have found is that there has been epic worldwide destructions like the flood of Ogeiges. Whole bunch of Phoenix videos, 3 published books on the Phoenix, and now 4 videos. The 5th video is coming out Tuesday. We will be doing a live video on Tuesday for episode 5, the final episode for the Ogeigian deluge. Now I'm going to show you what the actual records say. The historians were talking about it. Took 5 videos to get out what happened in one single Phoenix year, 1687 BC, the month of May. So it's always orders of magnitude when it comes to the Phoenix. 1902 doesn't seem like it's a real bad one, but Phoenix phenomena happened everywhere, all over the world. But the order of magnitude was very light, and I think the elite were surprised. This is why in later 1902, all through 1903, they unleashed all their Fortune 500 companies. Yeah, they reinitiated all kinds of things like U.S. Bureau, Census Bureau, and patent offices. All these government organizations were now structured and organized. They had done in the time in the 1890s when they started bedding down and going underground and hiding their assets and basically going into self-preservation mode. A lot of these they went into long-term planning because they knew they were coming back to the surface, and they knew that they were going to take back control. But in that period of time, while they were hiding from the Phoenix, they had really done some restructuring, and it's all very evident in my 1902 videos. So I think I got 5 or 6 videos just on 1902, just like the Ogeigian deluge. So somebody said, I would pay to see Jason debate Billy Carson or Graham Hancock. Gerald Livingston, I'm going to tell you now, I would pay if either one of those men wanted to debate me. I have a whole list of questions that I need to ask them because in answering them, they're going to tell you, the public, real quick that they're full of shit. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. They're not the only two. There's a whole bunch of them that have been getting away with just borrowing material from people from the past for which they do not cite. They do not honor the giants that walked before us. And they repackage this material as their own, which is a subject matter of a very recent chat with a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of the unfuckers, not even an hour ago, were talking about this very thing. Why so many researchers today are doing that. Yeah, a lot of YouTubers getting out there putting out all these videos, but they're not giving credit where credit is due. They're not publishing their bibliographies. They're not showing that, hey man, this theory isn't new, and you're not more intelligent than the next man. Therefore, quit trying to pretend that this data is yours and that you put it out. You didn't. A lot of this material was put out. I mean, a lot of the material that's widely across YouTube today was very openly discussed by the great minds of the 1870s, 1880s, and 1890s. There's very, very little is new under the sun. So that's what I've been doing that lately too. All these are American Antiquarian reports. Got a whole bunch of them. There's a whole stack down here too. A lot. I've been going through all this stuff. There's so many crazy things. Did you know 1845, a man submitted a patent to petrify humans. The process takes 2 weeks to turn a human who just died into a statue, a stone. Yeah, he had to submit the procedure to the U.S. government to submit his patent. Oh my God, when I read that, a whole bunch of things just popped in my head when I read that. There was a patent pending in 1845 to petrify, to fossilize people, their dead bodies. There's a process that took 2 weeks. What? It's amazing. It's amazing. Also, I just read an article. If you guys want me to post it, if you want me to post it in the community, I will. I was going to post it in Facebook tonight. I just read from 1845, front page. I could not believe it. It shows a city infrastructure, what it looks like, 5 degrees away from the North Pole. What? A city called Junga. This is 1845, and this is a Scientific American paper. Talks about here's the layout of the city of Junga, 1845. It is a 5 degrees away from the North Pole. North Pole's at 90 degrees. So yeah, I agree with you, Shiva. A lot of that stuff, 100%, I agree. A lot of that stuff is rediscoveries. Because remember, in 1845, they were only, 1764, they were only within 80-something years of the last reset. Yeah, 1764. So, yeah, I can see why a bunch of people would have been suppressing a lot of that stuff. I'm going to finish answering these on the paper, and some of your newer questions, Dawn is getting them right now. She's going to bring them to me later. Well, there's no hurry. There's no hurry. There's no rush, guys. I started a little early before we had 1,000 people in the chat. I appreciate that less than 500 likes I got there. Appreciate you guys for hitting that like button. But yeah, I don't believe you can change the timing of the Phoenix phenomenon, but I believe the collective can change the magnitude. Yes, I'll even go a step further than that, and I can even say that by virtue of how you conduct your personal field yourself, you can even modify how the Phoenix phenomenon will respond to you, your existence, your personal field. Yes, the Phoenix is ancient. It is a protocol. It is not something the collective can undo. Even all the might of the collective agreeing that the Phoenix should cease to exist is not going to happen. It is a part of the construct. Remember, the construct has fixed protocols, dungeon programming, negative default programming. It has archons that are over. Archons are programs that are over different things that we all agree on. We all agree that the sea has boundaries. It's called the beach. We all agree that when thunderstorms happen, there's lightning, there's noise, and there's water falling from the sky. We all agree that snow can only happen when there's humidity and cold. We all agree that if you're bleeding somewhere on your body and you go out in salt water, you're probably going to be attacked by something. We all agree. There are many fundamentals that do not change. They are a part of the construct. Now, how the construct interfaces with the collective has a lot to do with where the mindset of the collective is. This is the danger of the media. This is why the poison of the media. The media is always trying to reinforce dungeon programming, and it does that by accentuating the polarities, getting you to take a side, choose, have an opinion. Are you for this or for that? Or are you this or you that? Do you believe this or do you think this is true? Yeah, this is a really good strategy to suck you into the programming, because once you subject yourself to any of these dungeon protocols, you now become a part of the game. Once you're a part of the game, you got to play by its rules. When you violate those rules that are imposed on you, then you suffer the consequences. It's called anxiety. It's called grief. It's called sadness. It's called loss. It's all the negative base emotions. These are the things you suffer. You suffer these because you allowed yourself to become a participant in a game that's not even yours. It's the construct. That's why I tell you guys a lot. Be objective. Fear makes you a participant, but so does choosing sides. Screw the sides. And remember, guys, politics is the worst. Religion's pretty bad, but politics is the worst. It's the worst, guys, because with politics, there's this attachment to nationalism and patriotism, and they really guilt you into thinking, oh, you know what? You're not really for the French people. You're not a French patriot, man. You're not, you got no connection to our ancient Moravian dynasty. You know what I mean? You're nothing, man. You don't agree with us, and you're going to embrace Islam. You're going to embrace, you're not against our Frankish ancestors, man. You're not one of our blood. You ain't shit. Yeah. Just like in America, they tell you how unpatriotic you are if you don't vote for Trump. Yeah, nobody cares if you vote for Biden or not. Even CNN just reported Biden's approval rating is so low, there's no way he can be voted in for president again. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't even matter. He's gone. It'll be somebody else. It'll be another clown. So, this is a good question, but it's the same old answer for me. You are living in two separate realities at the exact same time, and you phase in and out. Everybody does. Even Jason of Archaix on a daily basis has to resist that pull back into dungeon program. I got to resist it every day. That's why I told you in the other video, breaking free is not an act that you do in your life. There's no time in your life in the future you're going to look back and say, that's when I broke free. No, you're breaking free every single day, because every single night you're getting jacked back into the construct, and it's Groundhog Day all over again. It's just a little bit different scenery when you wake up this time. It's the same world, everything's there. The only differences are those that have been imposed by you. So, yeah, good question. No, you're not going to stop the Phoenix. We can, in the collective, minimize its magnitude to where it doesn't do near as much as what it normally does, like we have so many stories from antiquity and recent times. However, in the highly individualized personal field, you can be absolutely 100% immune to the Phoenix. Just like the city of Bela was totally immune when Mohenjo-Daro, the Indus Valley civilizations, and Larak, all the way to Uruk and and all the Sumerian cities, Nippur and Shuruppak, they were wiped out by something that appeared from the sky during Nemesis X perihelion. And this is 1849 BC. This destruction swept right across the Arabian desert, vitrified the desert like glass in some areas, and passed right over the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboam. And in the middle of all those is a little community called Bela, which was not participating in all the evil of Sodom and Gomorrah. And they were completely immune to what happened. They survived. Everybody else was wiped out. So, same thing, same principle applies. These stories are put in there for a reason. It doesn't even matter if they're true or not. Programming Easter eggs have been put all throughout the historical record for us to find, so we can see how the construct interacts with us, how we can interact with the field, and we can always determine our coordinates in the field rather than having the construct dictate conditions to us. Huge difference. Huge difference. Remember, you phase in and out of two realities. One is the reality that you control in the highly personal, and one of them is the overfield, which is controlled by the construct. Yeah, you phase in and out. And the longer you stay in one, the more, if it's the construct, the more power it has over you to suck you into dungeon programming. The more you defy the construct and you go your own way and you make it a consistent part of your life to break pattern and to do it erratically and to go your own way, have your own opinions, develop your own relationships, do what you want to do despite family, despite friends. When you adopt that type of attitude, the construct does back off, and more freedoms are given to you in the field, and your personal informed field begins to take on many of the values of the immortal within. This is what my book, Awaken the Immortal Within, is about. We all have the same powers. We all have the access to the exact same potentia. The problem is each individual blocks their own abilities to access this. If you want a really good mnemonic enhancement, excellent memory, you want instant recall, facts, dates, numbers, data sets. It doesn't matter. It's all there because it's in the field. The ability for any type of hypercognition is available to every single person listening to my voice. It all has to do with, do you understand and recognize that you yourself are independent of this avatar that's trapped in the field, trapped in the construct? You understand that all the information you could ever want is in the field already. And once you have tapped into the field, you can separate fact from fiction, good and evil. Everything is accessible to you because intuition, empathy, and imagination are your guides as an immortal, borrowing an avatar, moving through a construct that is not a home. That's why you're a pilgrim, just passing through right here. That's all it is. Adopt that mindset that you're living in two different realities every day, and then struggle to be in the personal and not in the collective, and you're going to see great changes unfold in your life. You don't have to be a spiritual adept. You don't have to apply some weird Indian, Eastern, unpronounceable type of meditation. You don't need any of those things. Excuse me. All you need is the personal decision. When you decide, okay, no, I'm going to break precedent. This is who I've been for all this time. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of these conditions affecting my life, which makes me do this, which makes more conditions affect my life, which basically corrals me into this right here. And I can't provide for this, and I can't do this, and I can't experience this because all, you know what? You want to break free from all that? You don't have to struggle. Remember, you're the architect, not the builder. Anything you want built for you can be built very, very fast. When you understand that in the personal, you are the designer, you are the architect, and the architect is tapped into source. But the construct is full of builder protocols that are just waiting to build something. But they're never, but in your life, they're hardly ever told what to do. Hardly ever told. Remember, the difference is not fantasy and daydream. Every single person fantasizes and daydreams when they lay their head on a pillow at night. Their mind wanders and you think of things you don't have, you want things you want to experience. All these things are on your mind and they don't change a damn thing in the construct. They don't change anything. And it's because the avatar did not act upon the fantasy, didn't move in the direction, because the avatar belongs to the construct. The construct is very aware of what the construct does. When some parts of the construct are doing something, it's going to commiserate. It doesn't matter if there's something alien inside a piece of the construct. That little piece of the construct is your avatar. It doesn't matter that you're in it. It doesn't matter. All it's going to do is see what all the little pieces, people are doing in the construct, and it's going to help them do it. That's what it does. It's builder protocols. It's neutral. It is beyond good and evil. It doesn't care. It doesn't even care. So, good question. It led into a lot of other stuff. You're not going to change the Phoenix timeline, but what you can do in the collective, if you get enough people together, is change the magnitude of how it will affect that geographical area where those people believe whatever it is they believe. But in the highly personal, it doesn't even matter if New York City is wiped off the map on May 16th, 2040. If you're in New York City and your personal informed field is not done with being inside the construct is going to find some way to make sure that the fallout still doesn't affect you, even though you're in the middle, in the center and epicenter of destruction. Doesn't even matter. So, okay, good question. We're going to move on. Archaix, where do the so-called aliens fit into your view of things? Are they interdimensional? Are they the entities the ancients wrote of? This is a question from somebody new to my channel. Okay, I'm gonna entertain it to a degree. I do not believe in extraterrestrials. I don't believe in aliens, and I don't believe that there's a single person pushing the ancient alien narrative, or any modern, even Stephen Greer, any of them. Any of them want to come on my channel and try to push that? I've got questions for them. I already pretty much know what their answers are. They can cite report after a deal, but it boils down to this: you were told men walked on the moon, but not one of you were on the moon to see those men walk. You were told that they sent a golf cart with aluminum foil to the moon, but not one of you were there to see this happen. No one was. Even today, we haven't sent anybody high enough to verify that anything NASA has told us is true. We can't. This is the value of SpaceX, an independent source of bewitchery and lying. Somebody who can independently assert that they've been going into space. Elon Musk. Elon Musk, yeah, he's 100% a part of the elite. They need him to make it look like they're actually telling the truth rather than perpetuating a fiction. No, I don't believe it. I don't believe any of that. 1947 Roswell incident was all staged. It was all staged. Oppenheimer was there. He was waiting for the incident to occur. So, there's a lot to be said about the whole deals. Now, does that mean UFOs are not true? Absolutely not. I've been through this so many times. I shouldn't have even entertained this on an advanced Archaix deal. But you need to go through my videos on extraterrestrials and aliens to fully understand and grasp. You are inside a closed system. There has never been viewed ever any types of drop shuttles, interdimensional craft, UFOs, galactic warships. Nothing has ever been photographed or even visually seen and reported of giant ships or even little ships going in and out of the atmosphere. But we have hundreds of thousands of documented eyewitness reports, radar signature recordings, and military reports. We have all that for UFO activity. But does UFO activity necessarily imply extraterrestrials? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Through culture and disinformation, you are made to make the cognitive leap from one to the other. But they're not true. It's just like the Ancient Aliens franchise. I'll debate everybody on that franchise. They can round table against me. I don't care. Because I agree in technolithic artifacts. I agree in out-of-place artifacts. I agree in the hypersonic boring, fracture boring. I agree with all the anomalies that these Ancient Alien franchise keeps putting out and saying, hey, this is technologically advanced architecture. How is it possible? It's 4,000 years ago. Hey, we got this right here. And they've isolated so many amazing discoveries, and yet not one bit of it is evidence of an extraterrestrial species. It is evidence that we have suffered multiple resets. Remember, it only takes 200 years to go from Hadron Collider from horse and buggy to Hadron Collider. So you can necessarily imply another 200 years to go all the way back to the start just to begin building back in up to technologically advanced. We can become technologically advanced very fast. Therefore, where the real mystery is not that all aliens are coming down here and influenced ancient man and built all these civilizations. No evidence for that whatsoever. None, especially when the traditions have all been contorted. Because the oldest traditions concern gods who came down from the mountain and interacted with the people and became benefactors and all this. Later on, we have people like Eric von Daniken telling us that gods dropped from the stars and dropped from space. Then you got Robert Temple adding to it with the Sirius mystery, talking about the Dogon tribe in Africa, talked about the Nomo coming from the Sirius system, and several researchers have gone behind him to Africa to find out that these stories can't be found anywhere. The man made this shit up. He's not the only one. We've got so many amazing testimonies of so-called alien abduction. Is Jason of Archaix trying to tell you that phenomenon's not true? Absolutely not. I follow Roger Lear's research. Roger Lear's book is fantastic about the alien implants. Every bit of it's fantastic. But the position of Archaix, and I'm not going to beat you up with it here, you can go watch those presentations. Everything has been designed for you to assume that up there is anything more than just a light show, a stellar canopy, something that doesn't actually morph into something else like machinery every time there's an epic cataclysm and a reset. When people are horrified, they look up and they don't even recognize the sky as a sky anymore. Remember, the moon is hiding something else. Machinery sounds, all these things have emitted from the sky for thousands of years and been recorded so. But you are told UFO phenomenon and alien abduction phenomenon and the crop circle phenomenon and the animal mutilations phenomenon are all evidence of extraterrestrials and alien civilizations, and they're not. We're in a closed system. They are all absolutely a part of the paradigm that involves an underground civilization, a parent civilization that is far older than any of the civilizations that are on the surface. Over and over, I've told you guys there's far more real estate in the underworld than there is on the surface. And that is just a mathematical fact. Anybody can measure the plane against the depth, and you will see there's way more area to build, way more resources, way more sweet water, way more minerals, way more natural resources, natural gases, refining facilities, pancaked cities, every bit of it, tunnel systems. It's been down there for a very long time. They're always building. And the more we build on the surface, it just gets destroyed by earthquakes, war, tsunamis, age, jungles grow over the ruins, populations relocate. But in the underworld, those facilities stay there unless some type of underworld cataclysm takes place, which does happen during Phoenix phenomenon events. So, yeah, I'm not buying into any of it. And you cannot be passionate trying to sell something you've never experienced. That's kind of weird. That's kind of really weird. See, I used to be that kind of person because I was a Christian and I used to really argue with Muslims and I used to, non-believers, and I used to pull out my sword, my Bible, and I'd go back and forth and try to tell people, but it wasn't their reality because they had not accepted that dungeon programming. And in order to accept the truths of the Bible, I had to ignore very uncomfortable information. I had to ignore when prophets and God were told that they did good for dashing baby skulls on rocks simply because they lived in a land that the other group, the Jews, wanted. Over and over and over in the Old Testament, I see little kids are playing. They see this old prophet who's bald, and they go, oh thou baldy." Little kids are making fun of a guy who's got a bald head. Big deal. But God sends a bear to come butcher 32 children, just carnage all over the place, and it's called holy because he's a Jewish prophet. Man, F that. That type of programming is designed for you to have this aura built up into your psyche that every time you come across one of these black hat wearing dudes, that he's supposed to be a child of the Most High God, and you're a goy, you ain't shit. Yeah, I'm not buying into that BS paradigm. That's not Jason anymore. I can't even believe that I went with it for so long. But over and over and over in the Old Testament, we see all the evidence of the God of this world. 1 Corinthians 4:4. Satan is the God of this world. This is what the Bible tells me. Now I accept it. I understand where I was deceived because way back at the beginning in Genesis, it was very clear to me. But in my infancy as a Christian, I didn't understand how deep the statement was that in the beginning, there was a tree of knowledge of good and evil in the garden before Adam and Eve sinned. That later on when I thought about that and meditated on that, and then I read the lost books of Adam and Eve 1 and 2, and I read the dialogue between Satan and Adam and Eve and God. I'm like, wow, this was all. I missed all this. I missed all this because they don't tell you these things at the pulpit. No, Christians are no different than any other people. They're just searching for the truth, but they've fallen for a very wicked, evil paradigm that allows them to suspend their morals, to shelve their spirit, and do terrible acts against other people in the name of God, in the name of Jesus. Yeah. Same thing in the Old Testament. People went through there, man, and killed every man, woman, and child. Sometimes they killed all the men and all boys 12 years old and older, and then took the 11-year-olds and under, sold them into slavery, and then took all the females, spread them out among the men, whatever they did with them, and then turned around and took their cities. Just took their shit. They didn't build that city, but they took it. And this was called holy. over and over and over in the Old Testament. Same shit they're doing over there in the Middle East right now. None of it's changed. Nothing's changed. It's dungeon program. It's the same old script. It's same players. So, yeah, all that from the aliens, guys. All that from the aliens. No, there's no aliens. Now, you want to talk about demons? That's a little bit different, but there are no aliens. There is another species that can shape change into humans that exist in our underworld, and they've been known to be in our underworld for thousands of years. But in modern times, the ancient alien franchise doesn't really want you to understand the true tenets of the faith and traditions of the small folk in Europe and throughout in Asia, in Africa, concerning the trolls, the Trollocs, the hobgoblins, goblins, the dwarves, the elves, the black elves. They don't want you to know all this. It was widely known. They were all living in the underworld. They came up and switched out human babies with their own to keep their own blood supplies going. This has been going on for thousands of years, and it's in all our traditions. But the Ancient Aliens franchise wants you to think that all this stuff is coming. It's extraterrestrials and it's aliens. And the reason they're so popular is because mainstream pushes them too. They're not blocked by mainstream. It's the same reverse psychology that's employed by Graham Hancock. This man is spreading lies. I want to debate him just to show everybody, man, I'm telling you guys, this man is nowhere near as intelligent as you think. He does not even know his books as good as he purports. And I'm ready to prove that to everybody as soon as I can get that man in a debate, especially about Atlantis and all this Göbekli Tepe, all the stuff that's not mentioned about Turkey and that area of the world. It's not even none of that's that old. None of it's that old at all. How he ignores all this data about Easter Island. Listen, this man, I don't have anything really personal against him, but when it comes to the information he's putting out, he does the same thing as the Ancient Aliens franchise. Although he doesn't push aliens, he does the same thing. So it's called practicing exclusions. Yeah. No one with one iota of intelligence and learning who has a bibliography like Graham Hancock does, where you can prove he's read the books that cite the accurate material, could ever say in a public venue, Atlantis was 9,600 BC. The only way he could ever say that is if he knew he was lying. Only way. And I'm willing to prove that in a debate. Anytime, anywhere. But yeah, it's there's way too much scholarly academic research that's out there about Atlantis being 13th century BC. Way too much. You have to ignore so much data, archaeological, anthropological, historical, and chronological, just to be able to say Atlantis was anything other than the 13th century BC. Is JasonArchaix saying there wasn't an Atlantis? Hell no. I'm not saying it at all. Not. With reality tunnels, when it comes to decoding, do you feel we find what we want to find? What's already in our mind? Well, I feel that you do, and I feel that many people have basically golly, man, I wish you wouldn't have asked it that way, because there's a definite psychological term that describes what you just asked me. And I can't remember it now. But yeah, many people find exactly the very things that they put into phenomena. Yeah, their frames of reference are injected into the belief and reflected back to them as self-referencing. So it's a feedback loop. Many people do this. Religion's terrible. It's toxic. It does it too. But yeah, it's thank you, man. Thank you, guys. There's several of you said it. LOV, Grace Simon. That's the term I was trying. Confirmation bias. It was escaping me. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's confirmation bias is absolutely real. Absolutely real. There are real things to be found in the construct. There are programming protocols that we can find. There are Easter eggs everywhere in research that we can find. The official narratives on anything are almost always untrue. Almost always untrue. You want to find the truth, you got to search for it. But you got to go through eyewitness accounts and specialist literature and chronological data. And when you do, you can put a more accurate piece together of what had unfolded. But that takes effort. It takes work. Yeah. Confirmation bias is real strong to me and a lot of people who just don't want to do the legwork. They would rather coming across two different things. Am I going to listen to Jason of Archaix, whose concepts are so radical and different than anything I've ever heard? Or should I just go ahead over here to the Southern Baptist Convention website? I'm real familiar with all that, and I feel good when I hear it because you're vibrating on that frequency, whether it's right or wrong. You have already accepted so many of those things. Therefore, when you come into contact with those who are perpetuating more of that dungeon programming, you gravitate toward it. Yeah. So that's easy. Breaking free is not easy. It's not easy. But luckily, every one of us is an immortal being trapped inside of an avatar. And once you understand that you are not your avatar, you are totally independent of it, and that you're actually more to something greater, the oversoul, once you understand you're connected to source, it makes it easier to break free of these paradigms. But yeah, confirmation bias is real. Many people. And even the argument from people who are trapped in a paradigm of accusing, like me, Jason, say, oh man, you know what? The only reason you put together all this compelling research and all this is because you already believed it. So all the evidence, man, just manifested in your life was able to put together. That's really ridiculous. And the reason it's ridiculous is because the sheer and almost unbelievable amount of data that I have freely provided to the public has not once ever been debated. It has not once ever been overturned. This needs to be taken into consideration before anybody accuses me of confirmation bias, because I'm not like a lot of researchers out there. I am giving you those before me who said what they said. I cite the sources, I show you the arithmetic, and I'm always telling you if something is true, it can be seen from multiple different mathematical vantage points. It's never going to be seen from one vantage point. Not if it's true. Not if it's true. So yeah, it's confirmation bias is real. So if that, the only reason I added the little extra details was in case this is a trap question, just in case it's a trap question, because you're not going to accuse me of that at all. So, do you think the Aboriginal peoples and their zodiac may have some meaning for what's happening in the construct? You would have to educate me on what the zodiac is that you're aware of that the Aboriginal peoples had, because in my research, the zodiac that we know today did not exist before 21 centuries ago. There's no references anywhere in the historical record, and I have a video with a real nice chart that shows you all the sources, all the ancient text, the temples, everything that proves that the zodiac that you know of Gemini, Taurus, Libra, Scorpio, Cancer, all that, Sagittarius, all that is a recent invention, and it goes back to the Greeks. And that even the ancient Indian scholars 2,000 years ago published that the zodiac was an importation from Greece. Oh yeah, those who are really into Indian astrology, you better do your homework. I got the receipts. Indian scholars say they got the zodiac from the Greeks. Temple of Dendera in Egypt, everybody wants to cite. Oh, look at that beautiful Egyptian artwork. Look at that. Yeah, you know what? I'm a Texan, but I can replicate Etruscan art, and you can't tell the difference. That's what the Greeks did. And every scholar and academic who has ever studied the Ptolemaic dynasty will tell you that they built the Temple of Dendera. Why? Because the Egyptians said they did. They said the Greeks built the Temple of Dendera and put that zodiac in there, and they stylized it. The Greek Ptolemies stylized it to look like it was Egyptian, but it's Greek artwork, every bit of it. And that zodiac is Greek, and that zodiac only dates to about 80 BC. 80 years before Christ, 80 BC. That's not even 21 centuries ago. And that's the only evidence in the entire ancient world that the Egyptians even knew of a zodiac, and it came 6 centuries after the last Egyptian dynasty had collapsed. Yeah. The Egyptians weren't even around anymore because Egypt had been overrun by the Assyrians, the Persians, the Babylonians. the Greeks, the Macedonians, and the Ptolemies. So, and for a while, the Seleucids, Syria. So yeah, guys, it's there's you have to educate me on what the zodiac is for the Aboriginals, because I'm aware that ubiquitously around across the world, whatever your paradigm is, Orion, Arcturus, the seven sisters, the seven Pleiades, Alpha Draconis, the Great Bear, Ursa Minor, Ursa Major. These are the major constellations that were venerated. What was watched wasn't the moon. Nobody cared about the moon in ancient times. Nobody really cared about it because it didn't have a movement that could really be regulated with perfection. The moon just didn't. There was a short period of time when the Egyptians were counting everything in moons. That didn't last long. But the old calendars had all failed. The sun had been proven over and over through the Phoenix phenomenon events, had been proven to be unreliable. But one thing that happened with great regularity was the movement of Venus. And this is why we have very highly meticulous Venus almanacs found in the ancient world. The Venus almanacs were what the ancients were really watching. Largest bright object in the sky other than the moon, and it moved fast across the sky. So I don't know about the Aboriginals. You'd have to educate me on what their zodiac was. Jason, will South Africa survive? It was prophesied that many would flee to our country. Any thoughts? Thank you. Love from Cape Town. Okay. In May of 2040, the epicenter of motion is going to be the Great Pyramid area. The Great Pyramid used to be 0 degrees latitude, 0 degrees longitude of the ancient pre-flood world. Because of the cataclysm of 2239 BC, two things happened. One, the Great Pyramid complex was shoved 30 degrees north latitude. It became the new equatorial bulge. And it doesn't matter if you believe in a flat world, if you believe in a round world, none of that matters, because it's widely known there's an equatorial bulge. And that ring on a flat Earth map, it's a ridge that's raised slightly at 30 degrees, at the equatorial ring around on the deal, or on a globe model, equatorial bulge is at 23 degrees, 23.5 degrees obliquity. Doesn't matter what your paradigm is, because every bit of this is programming. So it works either way. But the Great Pyramid was moved 30 degrees from where its original position was. Its original position before the flood was pointing directly at, the shaft was pointing directly at Alpha Draconis, the eye of the dragon, because all the stellosphere moved around that. And if you were in the pyramid, looking up the shaft, which is hundreds of feet, going below the pyramid to the subterranean chamber, hundreds of feet, you looked up the subterranean chamber all the way out into the sky, one day a year, you would see right there in the celestial sphere, Alpha Draconis, the eye of the dragon. In the whole stellosphere, all the stars moved around it, because the eye of the dragon was the circumpolar star. It was, matter of fact, this is what this book talks about right here. I'm about to show you a book right now that this is the subject matter of this book. I swear I just can never find books when I want to find them. It's here somewhere, guys. Man, I didn't know I was going to be talking about this. Yeah, I didn't know I was going to be talking about this, so maybe I'm not going to find it. Damn, it's a book very similar to this one, but it's not this one. It's by the same authors. Hell, man, I can't believe I can't find this book. Such is my luck. I would love to show you this book. Anyway, this book was written over 100 years ago, just like the other book I want to show you. Oh, I found it. Pardon me. I found it. Here's Archaix. Here's the Babylonian Archaix epic, where the Jews borrowed the flood story. Lost language of symbolism. Right here. This is good. It's a big book. Big book. Got all kinds of stuff in there. Cites ancient myths, traditions, poems. But anyway, Alpha Draconis was the pole star. All the circumpolar stars wrapped around it. Draco is an actual constellation that covers 2/3 of the circumpolar stars, leaving 1/3 of those stars free, not between the tail and the mouth. So the when the Great Flood happened, the collapse of the vapor canopy, the shift went 30 degrees to where it is today. It is Ursa Minor. The little bear, Polaris, is now the new pole star. It's the one star in the sky that does not move. All other stars move around it. That's why they're called circumpolar. But yeah, that's the ancient concept. The reason I'm saying all this is because South Africa is attached to North Africa. If the center of movement is if the Great Pyramid was specifically put there because the ancients knew that they needed to warn a future generation. This is in the book of Enoch. This is in the book of Jasher. And this is in the Coptic Egyptian text. The reason the Great Pyramid was built by Surid, the reason the Great Pyramid was built by Enoch was because it was to warn a future generation of a great cataclysm. The world would be destroyed by water. But in the future, it would be a very different type of destruction. But the pyramid itself was designed to warn of that. The closer a country or civilization is to Egypt, the less damage they will take during the 2040 Phoenix phenomenon. The further out, the more damage there's going to be. So no, I'm thinking that South America, most of it, especially higher elevations, will be just fine. No coastal cities anywhere in the world are going to be safe for weeks. But yes, inland, almost every continent inland, at least at higher altitudes, there's going to be safety. There's going to be safe places. Remember, there's never been a time when the entire human race was wiped down to 8 people. That's a BS lie. It never happened. There's always been survivors. There's always been communities. There's always been countries to absolutely thrive. So no, that's not going to happen. Let's see, Jason, when was the word human first used? And what is its origin? Couldn't tell you that one. I don't know that one. You'll have to Google that. That's what everybody likes to do today. I do know that the origin of the word Adam, as in Adam and Eve, is a Jewish fiction. It has no precedent until the 3rd century BC. There are no ancient traditions. There's no ancient text. There's nothing in existence that shows that there was a belief in an Adam and Eve until the rabbis created a series of writings that they passed off to their people called the Old Testament. Here's a real humdinger. And Christians have to do their own research because they get triggered when they hear this shit. But the Old Testament is no older than the New Testament. They were literally written together. So it's crazy how all this has happened, and it's to see it all now is like, wow. You know what? It's so obvious. Like if you're on Facebook, today I published Yahweh, the God of Murder. It's pretty long, but it's a very compelling argument using nothing but Bible verses showing that Yahweh, the demon that popped up out of that burning bush, is basically the God of this world. The evil Satan, the adversary that's mentioned in the New Testament. That the God of the Jews is basically the demon lord of this construct. And it's all laid out right there, and I use the Bible to do it. And that's just one of 3 presentations. It's called Yahweh, the God of Murder. I have another one. I'll probably post it tomorrow or tonight called the Serpent Code. It also does the same thing. It's just pure logic using the Bible, only the Bible, to show you the same thing. I have another video called The Moses Epic is a Fairy Tale. Same thing. Hundreds of verses in there. And Christians get triggered all the time when they read this material. They read this material like, oh, no, I'm not. It's straight out of the Bible. It's just the parts the preacher wouldn't tell you. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I don't care how you justify it. I don't care what your religious background is. If you think that there is any set of circumstances where you can be given license to take a baby and throw that baby and dash their head on a stone and be called holy for doing it, you're fucked up. It's as simple as that. There's no way around that argument. You are effed up. All right, Jason, have you read H.S. Bellamy's book? Okay, I've already addressed that in the last. I think I already did this page, Don. Yes, I did. I've already answered all this whole page. I got one question left here, and then I'm gonna start looking in the chat myself. Have you ever tried to decode the Book of Mormon like you did the Bible? Well, actually, I've read the Book of Mormon. I have a video on the Book of Mormon. What I did, because I had too many hundreds of videos, it was very confusing. I got enchiladas in me, guys. I didn't get them the other night. I got them today. And they're not mixing with my coffee. So I did like my Dark Scriptures playlist where I have my Mormon decode is in there. Thank you. Oh, wow. Look at all these questions. You guys have been busy. All right. So my Book of Mormon decode involves a Phoenix phenomena, an event that's in the Book of Mormon. But you can't find the individual video anymore because it's been montaged. This is what people don't understand. I have a members only playlist for Archaix. There's no information, there's no videos in the members only that the rest of you don't have access to. It's only in a different format. I had so many Phoenix videos, 84 of them, and I got more now, but I had 84 of them. I went ahead and montaged them into 8 long 2.5-hour videos. So you get to watch them all the way through, so you get the full education on the Phoenix phenomenon. That was necessary. I had too many of them. 84 videos. People were skipping them. Then they're asking me questions. They shouldn't have skipped any videos. So I did that. I did that with my Dark Scriptures playlist as well. That's where you find my decode on the Book of Mormon. I don't know which one of those montages, but if you listen to all 3 or 4 of the Dark Scriptures montage videos, the long form videos, you'll come across it. It's got pictures. I show the text, everything on the Book of Mormon. But yeah, the Book of Mormon is not depicting a real history at all. It's mixing real history. It's mixing fact and fiction to basically promote an agenda. The same thing the Old Testament does. The exact same thing the New Testament does. So in that regard, it is the same. It's no different. No different at all. Jason, do you think it's possible many people won't even notice the quickening of the time in 2046? Absolutely not. I do not believe that's the scenario at all. What is described in the book of Revelation is a part of a judgment. It is a trumpet judgment. It's no longer a seal. It's no longer something you can argue about and say, you know what? COVID wasn't real. COVID was real. It only affected certain people. There's no argument now. During the judgment period, this is all steeped in materialism. It's very, very specific. The trumpet judgments say that during the trumpet judgments, the first trumpet, the second trumpet, and the third trumpet involving wormwood, it specifically says that God will reduce by a third. He will take 33.3% of the day away. He'll take 33.3% of the night away. Then he reinforces it by saying, going to take 33.3% of the sun away, of the moon and the stars. 5 different things are reduced by 33.3%, leaving 66.6% to experience the reduction. So, not only that, by the end of the trumpets, it specifically says that these things were done and killed the sons of men. God also reduced mankind by a third, which is 33.3%. So, no, this is not something arguable. In 2046, when this quickening begins, it's because the stellosphere starts moving faster. Now the stars are moving faster. Day and night becomes faster. The sun's moving faster. The moon's moving faster. Everything that is mentioned, everything that is, all five elements are mentioned. This right here is why it's very hard to predict exactly how this is going to affect human physiology, because at the same time, we have the return of the vapor canopy 6 years earlier. And if you think the return of the vapor canopy is going to be gradual, it's not. Just one volcano in 1883 sent a dust veil around the world for months. Imagine 100 volcanoes, 50 on land, spread around the world, all spewing pumice and volcanic ash, while 50 more submarine volcanoes are boiling seas and oceans and just shoving all this basically moisture and ash and gases into the atmosphere. What do you think is going to happen? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. We're going to have greenhouse gas canopy so fast, it's going to shock people. The sun is going to be a thing of the past. It's going to be a vapor canopy fast. Daylight's going to be dark. It's the return of the vapor canopy. It's all the code, the clues are all within the Book of Revelation text. What people experience, the increase in temperature. Although the sun has been reduced in power by a third, now because of a canopy in place, now all of a sudden, it's a lot hotter. So hot now, boils are appearing on people. Sickness is appearing on people. Yeah, it's because of this greenhouse gas effect. This is the vapor canopy worlds are a high humidity, high atmospheric pressure, a whole bunch of oxygen. Open wounds heal in minutes. Cuts heal right there in your eyes in seconds. And it's just like the Cain and Abel situation. Right after 3895 BC vapor canopy by Phoenix. Year one of the ancient world. Year one of the antediluvian world was 3895 BC. When that vapor canopy appeared, the Cain and Abel story really doesn't make a lot of sense. That's a hell of a you're the only family in the world. So why would you banish Cain for murdering Abel if you're the only family in the world? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. And then for Cain to be scared that others would kill him, so God gave Cain a mark, so that if anybody came across Cain and saw the mark, they would know to leave him alone. That's really interesting. What kind of mark would that be? So I've read some good speculation about it, but yeah, I think the amount of punishment is indicative in the biosphere. There's no way that the murder could have been ruled an accident, and it's because of a vapor canopy. In a vapor canopy, you kill somebody, you had to work to do it, because they're already healing as soon as you hit them. So you really got to work. You really got to work to off somebody. And this is the picture that we're painted of during the tribulation period. We're not in the tribulation period. We're in the seals period. We're in the unveiling period. We're in the period of time where everybody's going to pick a side. And that's everybody, except for the errants, except for the highly individualized souls. And the highly individualized souls at the end of the seals period will begin disappearing off the world. There's no reason to be here anymore. Those who are still here are going to go through all this. But yeah, the fifth seal is your biggest clue that the souls are now being prepared for exodus, to get out, to go. It's time to go, to exit the construct and all. That's the fifth seal of the apocalypse. But the seals events, everything still continues normally. The first real true abnormal event will be the breaking of the first trumpet. Even the Phoenix phenomenon is going to be, there's going to be reporting here and there, and there's going to be cities that are effed off, but by and large, all the seals combined says they only take a fourth of the world's population. That means that the whole 20-year period of the seals, or 24-year period of the seals, remember, the elite are operating on the Greek Olympiad calendar. That's why all the rituals are done every 4 years at the Olympic deals. These are occult rituals, and they all tell you exactly what's happening. Don't take my word for it. You can watch those videos yourself. They're very, very clear. And if you don't want to do that, you can wait for my decode, because I'm already going through the Olympic deals and showing you what I've seen and what I'm hearing in there. But yeah, for the Olympic, and it's not just 2012. I'm now understanding they did it in 2004. They did it in 2000. They did it in 1996. They did it in 1992. I now understand this has been building. It's a very clear picture of what they were doing until the first seal was broken in 2020 with the first thing that was necessary, which was a sacrifice. The Pharmakia sacrificed part of the human population in a massive worldwide ritual to strengthen their agenda in opening a gate to release Apollyon, so Apollyon can come forth and rule the world during the trumpet period, because he's not allowed here while there's still seals that are unbroken. So anyway, this is what's going on. Yeah, and this is all programming, guys. You don't have to be a Christian to believe all this. You don't have to be an anti-Christian to believe all this. This is all programming. This program we have lived through multiple times. It's a part of the construct. Every bit of it. It's all programming. So that was so no, I disagree with you. Well, I mean, you asked me a question. Will some people not even notice? No. By the time of 2046, the entire world steeped in materialism and all the judgments being very material because all the spiritual people have been removed. No, it's going to be very noticed. It's going to be experienced. I just don't know. I mean, we have a pretty clear picture of what the world's going to be like if you read 1st and 2nd Esdras and read the prophecies about the last days in there. I mean, it talks about some really weird things. It talks about within a month or two, babies being born and running around talking. So yeah, I don't talk. The quickening is real. Jason, what do you know about Simon Magus and his influence on early Christianity? I think Simon Magus was a really good dude, and I think he was demonized in the Christian record and made to look like he was a materialist when the exact opposite is true. Everything that we know about the early students of the Gnosis has been demonized ever since the Catholics have exterminated the Waldenses and the Cathars, the last holdouts of Gnosticism. And they had to do that from their perspective because the Gnostics knew that Jesus was a spiritual idea and was never a physical reality. He was never here. All their writings perpetuated this. The students of the Gnosis knew from the beginning that Christ was a concept, not a creation. He was never here in the physical because physical beings do not require anything in the physical world to save them. They are immortals. Every bit of this is the idea and the machination of the God of this world, who is the adversary. I call him Artificial Intelligence X. Has nothing to do with the true oversoul. The oversoul would never send something carnal to save that which is spirit. Doesn't even make sense. So, yeah, Simon Magus is a pretty good guy. And my publisher, Booktree in San Diego, I'm going to plug him, 1-800-700-TREE. You can get a book that he publishes called Simon Magus. It's got a subtitle too, but the title is Simon Magus. It's really informative. It's everything scholars have found about the real Simon Magus. It's a good book he's got. I read it. See, when, where, or how will we errants exit the construct during the exits event you have frequently referenced? For instance, do we just die or exit individually? Thank you so much. The individual or collective exit that you're inferring here, whether you know it or not, is called the rapture, which was highly popular from Tim LaHaye and some other Christian televangelists. They really got that popular, but many of the verses that describe this rapture type event are actually referring to resurrection type event, but it's the same thing. Resurrection, rapture, exodus, it's all the same thing. It is a removal from the construct. Now, in my prior video, I did go into a little bit of detail about some of the esoteric mystic symbols that are found in the beginning of the book of Revelation, talking that were only promised to he who overcometh. Because remember, Overcoming is the key. The revelation starts with seals. Every seal is designed from the elite collective perspective to deceive you, to make you think something else is happening. The highly individualized soul, spirit, will awaken. This is why there's a mass awakening since 2020. This is why the whole COVID narrative that unfolded actually opened the eyes of many people. These people don't even know. They're not a part of the collective. You are a part of a very powerful spiritual body that's passing through this construct. You don't belong in the construct. If you did belong in the construct, your ass wouldn't have awakened. It's really simple logic. The fact that somebody is awakening means that they are independent of the very reality that they have found themselves immersed in. To awaken means you're no longer sleeping. So the collective is asleep. That means they are sharing a collective paradigm, a dream. And the dream designer is Archaix, who creates the dungeon programming for you to drift into whatever part of the dream that you want to be in. But the highly individualized soul is one that finds that they are no longer welcome here. And that starts with awakening, realizing that they are separate from this lying construct that they have found themselves surrounded by. And it's not a comfortable thing. Some people embrace it. So others they find it toxic and they don't know how to deal with it. And I've had many people come to my channel. Some of them will admit it to you right here in the chat. They have come to my channel and hit that cognitive dissonance. They come in contact with this Archaix data, and it offends the hell out of them. And they go away and they watch a bunch of BitChute videos, and they watch a bunch of Odyssey and Telegram and Cloud Hub, and they go to Truth Social. They come back to YouTube, and they realize they feel empty, scraped out, and hollow because the information planted a seed and made them realize, holy crap. There is something to this because nothing else resonates with me anymore. And they come back, and now that they are receptive, now that they're not a broadcaster of disbelief, but an antenna of awareness, now the Archaix data is absorbed rapidly. And they come in, it's like, wow, I get it. I understand it. I get it. I didn't understand none of this before. Now I get it. And this is what happens to a lot of people. A lot of people. And I'm cool with that because you cannot force this on anyone. You can't. But this is what the seals are about. They're about awakening those who don't belong here while keeping asleep those that do. Yeah, this is all it's about. It's separating the sheep from the goats. Now, you ask me about the Exodus, and this is where it gets complex. First of all, I don't know how your exit is going to happen. I don't know how. I don't know how my exit's going to happen. But I think some people will die of old age during the seals. A whole bunch of truthers, a whole bunch of people who are awakening will just die of old age during this next 16 years until things start really taking off. But even after 2040, there's still a 3 or 4 year period before the seventh seal is broken. So there's a period of inactivity after 2040. There's a period of inactivity because 4 years after that, 7 seals broken, then we have a quickening, 2046, but it's at the end of the year, November, when things start getting really, really chaotic. I don't want to be here then. I don't. There's no need for me to be here then. I'll be 73 years old. I was born in 1973, and I will be 73 years old in 2046. But I don't want to be here. That should be my final year here. I don't mind seeing Nemesis X. I don't mind seeing the Nemesis X object unfold and all that, but I'm ready to go by then. I've done my work, and I'm just ready. I don't want. I do believe that I will live through 2040. I do believe I'll probably be very instrumental in the mass migrations that will leave North America and head back toward Europe and the Mediterranean, because there's going to be a lot of people leaving North America after 2040. So. I believe I'll be part of that. How we exit, I don't know. But for youngsters, those who are rising up right now, listen, this is a really, really great time to be a youngster. Let me explain. Nowhere in Scripture does it say that there's only 144,000 saved. No, nowhere. That's been taught by so many Jehovah Witnesses and others have picked up on that. It's not. That is not what happened. That's not what it was being described. As many of us exit our avatars because of old age, because of war, because of disease, whatever happens, those of us who are already in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, yeah, we're going to be exiting all different kinds of ways all the way up until a year 2046. We're going to be exiting. Maybe even 2052. Some people may last that long, but there's going to come a terminus point where there's only 144,000 left. Remember, every single in the Great Pyramid prophecy, every single stone is a soul of the redeemed. In the Shepherd of Hermas text, we see basically God dictating to 7 holy ones how the structure is going to be built, and the stones have to pass through a gate. Sometimes God points out to a stone and they remove it because it doesn't quite fit and the stone is cast out. Others get a chance to come in and fit, and they do. And once the building is absolutely complete, just like the Great Pyramid in Egypt, when the limestone blocks were done at 454 feet elevation, 203 levels of blocks, as soon as they were done, they were armored with a white limestone casing block. These stones were mathematically perfect, laser precision smooth. Engineer David Davidson found that the tolerances on the Great Pyramid far exceed the smoothest marble in the world. Laser smooth tolerances. We know those casing blocks used to be on there. Mathematicians have long ago taken the 4 casing blocks that are still lying in situ attached to the Great Pyramid, and they extrapolated. They're 100 inches thick. They know how long they are, how high they are, and they did the math and extrapolated and said the Great Pyramid once had not 4 of these, but was covered completely in a beautiful white limestone casing blocks that were so fit together razor blades wouldn't fit through the seals. 144,000 100-inch thick white limestone casing blocks. These are the covering. These are the final immortals that exit the construct. When everybody who has made the monument of man is done, and the 144,000 who live during the beast kingdom and witness and testify against the false prophet, and the 7 kings who return. We've already talked about a lot on my channel about the return of the 7 kings. I even have a book published about it. These are the same 7 kings that ruled in the Sumerian king list. When they return, start this beast empire, and there's 144,000 that are empowered. And for a while, they're untouchable, and they're telling the rest of the world what's about to happen. And then they get killed and die off. These are martyrs. It's 144,000 of them. But this is our young generation. This is our kids. Our 4-year-old, they're 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. They're up into their late 30s, maybe even some of them, just a few, maybe even up to about 44, 45 years old. But these are the young generation today that are waking up during the seals. Then they're self-educating themselves. When we're all gone, they're going to hold the line and be a very special part of the architecture of God. And they're going to be the 144,000 casing blocks. And when the 144,000th one dies in the year 2070, it's in the year 2070. And I'll be doing a presentation on that to show you all the calendrics, why that number. It's a Phoenix year. It's not on the 138-year Phoenix timeline, but 2070 is 414 times 5 cursed earth periods. It's 5 cursed earth periods. 2070 is divisible by 138. In the year 2070, the Great Pyramid timeline is done. It's complete. When the 144,000 individual dies to complete that spiritual pyramid, then will the chief cornerstone be able to come down upon the monument of man. This is the concept of the Egyptian Bin stone, the little pyramid stone, always known that that was the Phoenix stone. It was housed in the mansion of the Phoenix in Heliopolis, which is the Greek name for a far older, more ancient city called Anu. Annu. This is ancient Egypt, but later it was called On. It's all the same city, Heliopolis of the Greeks, where it was housed in the temple of Heliopolis called the Mansion of the Phoenix. In the center for everybody to see was the Bin stone. And on the Bin stone is a phoenix right in front of a red sun. It's all there in the imagery. But in the year 2070, the final death of the last martyr basically empties the entire world of anybody who is worth saving. They are going to go through the seven trumpets are over now. They're going to go through the seven thunders. They're going to go through the seven vials of wrath. They're the ones that are going to take the punishment. Now, the only ones left in the world by that time are pretty much the elite and everybody who follows them. So the chief cornerstone, the stone the builders rejected, the stone uncut by human hands, doesn't descend until the monument of man is completely done and there has been some type of ceremony, some type of gathering, but that gathering's not in this world. Even the fifth seal of the apocalypse is very clear. The events of the fifth seal do not happen on earth. Read that. The fifth seal and the seventh seal, they happen somewhere else, outside the construct. But the first four seals happen in the world, and then the sixth seal, the return of the Phoenix, is all materialism. It's all mid-May in the 2040. It's the return of the Phoenix. So I hope that answered your question, guys. I don't know who asked the question, but yes, the Exodus event, as far as exiting your avatar, remember the symbols. You're going to be given a white stone with a new name. The white stone is what gives you the right to be a part of the architecture of God. You are now in the family of God. Remember, in my Father's house are many mansions. A lot of these things in Scripture are very real, but they were taken from older sources. Then you have, I will make you a pillar in the temple of my God. That is a compliment. It literally means that I'm going to bestow divine knowledges upon you. Meaning that other life forms will seek you out because of the divine information that you possess. Remember, God never created as a singularity. If we're going to accept the oversoul as being eternal, which is what we're told, then the eternal creator never stopped creating. And the creation could have never been an event because it's still ongoing. And an ongoing creation necessarily implies there will always be a new worlds and new constructs to populate where these pillars of divine knowledge are going to be needed to teach other civilizations and teach you. We just don't know. We just don't know the full extent of our future. But we can rest assured that we didn't go through all of this and be given all these promises and all this to be so perfectly hidden within all the traditions and ancient texts of the world to finally be put back together. And it's so synthetic and so perfect for this to have been something that wasn't a part of the true agenda. Because we have to take into consideration that much of the data from the old world even admits that it's for a future generation. The book of Enoch and the prophecies in Enoch, the ministry of Enoch, is admitted in the book of Enoch to be for the last days generation, not for his own time period. And this is what we find in Surid, in the ancient Egyptian Coptic records. It's the same story. Surid did not build anything to protect the current generation. He built the Great Pyramids. It specifically says he built the Great Pyramids, Surid, before the flood, to survive the flood in such a way that a far distant future generation would be able to benefit from the knowledge of the Great Pyramid. So this is what we have here, guys. a lot of this material is real enigmatic to those who first hear it, but it's the message all throughout. All these cryptic statements all throughout the Bible, you put them all together, it's a message. It's a message. It's amazing. Just like to he who overcometh, I will give him a white robe. You're not going to get a white robe because you overcame all these tribulations and all this dungeon programming and multiple life sims. You went through all this. You're not getting a white robe. It's a metaphor. What does a robe do? It clothes you. It's a garment. This is what we're told in the books of Adam and Eve. In the lost books of Adam and Eve, we are specifically told that in the beginning, because of disobedience, Adam and Eve lost their garments. Yeah, they're talking about an avatar. This avatar belongs to the construct, but Jason has an avatar waiting on him that can go from construct to construct, and I won't be subject to any of the gods, adversaries, 1 Corinthians 4:4 of the construct. I will be a pillar of divine information. I will be a part of the monument of man. I will be a part of the architecture of God because I was given a white stone. That's my placement in this heavenly fraternity. And I will be able to travel from construct to construct, educating other life forms about what's really going on throughout the multiverse. This is the destination we're going toward. This is what everything's leading up to. And to think and to think that we're the first is almost comical because this has been going on since eternity. This is a cycle. This has been going on far longer than we're able to calculate, and it will continue. Because, like I said, as long as God is eternal, that means the creation was eternal as well. And that means that an eternal creation will forever spawn off new constructs, new universes, new cosmoses, new realities that need to be populated. And they're going to need guidance. So this is why in Scripture we find passages that are enigmatic, talking about God is raising a nation of kings and priests. What do you need a nation of kings and priests for? If everybody's a king and a priest, there's nobody to rule. It's talking about something else. It's talking about divine rulers who can go anywhere, do all kinds of things, and basically spread the kingdom, whatever that kingdom is. So this is just pure eschatology, guys, and you can find another interpretation. I'm not going to force an interpretation on you. I'm just giving it my best shot based off a lifetime of research. It's just it. Indigenous creature. I've seen your deal. Listen, I'll do the Native American presentation, man, when I feel inspired to. I've got a stack of books in the corner of books going back to the 1800s on that, but I tried to do a Native American deal and I got deluged with emails of everybody basically telling me how I need to package it. Here's what I need to include and do that. And that just absolutely turns me off. And I just shelved it all until the inspiration hits me again. And I will do it. I will never allow outside sources to influence the direction of my presentations. And that really happened. I don't know why. I do not know why it triggered so many people when I announced I was going to do a video on ancient Native Americans, their traditions, their origins, because I have so much unique, awesome data about what they said about different events in history. I don't know why it triggered so many people, but it's so many people just trying to get me to slant it in different ways and include this, and it really just completely killed my inspiration on that project. I'll get back to it. And who knows? Something like that's unusual. I haven't really responded like that to a lot of to stuff, but something, who knows? There may be something in one of them books in the 1800s I haven't gone through yet, or one of these reports from American Antiquarian that's going to open my mind up and make that presentation way better. There always has to be a reason why something happens. I don't believe in coincidence at all. Thank you guys for those likes. Appreciate it. We're far from done. Okay, can you expand on how or who or what created AIX and what its objectives are? I can only explain where AIX is manifested and we see its operation. I don't believe AIX is a personality, but I believe AIX believes it's a personality because I'm convinced that artificial intelligence X is just that. It's our artificial intelligence that's been inserted into the construct to make the experience more believable. What I mean is, a true neutral field construct is going to become a place of absolute beauty and potential if there's no agitating factor to make it feel more real. And the reason for this is because we are immortal beings that have basically suffering a temporal amnesia while we're dressed in avatars that belong to the construct. But what's in us is basically beauty. Humans, without media intervention, without propaganda, without all this external dungeon programming forced down our throats from kindergarten all the way up to college, without all that, humans get along just fine. Racism isn't a problem. Ideologies aren't a problem. Nobody cares if you're from this country or that. Nobody gives a damn about your business. Humans normally are very, very amenable toward each other. But there's an agitator out there. It's a protocol. It has a personality to an extent. It appears in all different ways very cleverly, like Shaddai, Shad, demon, origin of a word shadow, and then AI at the end of it, artificial intelligence. Shaddai is mentioned in the book of Job more than any other book in the Bible. And yet the story of Job is a perfect depiction of how AIX AIX pretends to be God. Even has a servant called the adversary that goes out there because El Shaddai wants to be God, even though El Shaddai is the adversary. But in order to be God, it has to have an adversary that it sends out to and fro in the earth to do all kinds of things to mankind. Inside the construct, Satan, Shaddai, is the God of this world. Outside the construct, the oversoul is the creatrix, creator, whatever of the entire series of constructs, the entire multiverse. So I am on board with this artificial intelligence X, this agitator protocol to be simply a artificial intelligent program inserted into the construct to be an agitator, not just to play devil's advocate, but to actually create harm and create situations and dungeon programming, and create war and strife and hunger and famine, and create all the things that make this experience more believable. Because I'm also of the opinion that without an agitator, if you stick a bunch of immortals and avatars and throw them in a neutral field, they're going to build something good. It's going to be good and lasting, but they're not going to have hardly any growth. Yeah. Walking through the darkness is how most people find their light. Not the light, how they find their light. Yeah. I'm a perfect example of that. The man I am today is by virtue of long imprisonment and just sitting down and internally philosophizing and cogitating and reading over and over passages that profoundly affected me and trying to figure out why they affected me and being able to discourse on the prison yards and in cell blocks without fear of ridicule and be able to say my opinion even when people disagreed and even filled with that fire of belief. Man, there's many times in prison I fought for the simple fact somebody said something stupid when I was talking. Yeah, I was a scrapper, guys, for a while. If I was talking to two convicts about something on a rec yard and somebody said something smart out the side of their mouth, believe me, I was that guy that used to quote Bible. I'm that guy. You guys have heard about guys like me, but I was that guy. I was that guy. I said, hey man, you really need to walk away before something evil happens to you. And then they would say something stupid and said, man, I ain't no one give a damn about you over there preaching that Bible. I said, listen, The same God that had a little 14-year-old boy slaying giants is also in me. And if you don't shut up, something real evil is going to happen to you. And they'd run their mouth and I'd beat their ass. It was over just like that. I had a lot of respect in prison because I wasn't just a scrapper, but there was something in me that absolutely believed that I was invincible and I was not going to let you hurt me. And I was not going to let God down by not having the faith that I could beat your ass if you got out of line. And this is how I walk through prison. And there are people in this chat feed who were in prison with me that remember those years. That was me. I believed 100% the word of God, twice baptized, washed in the blood of the Lamb, arguing with Muslims. I used to carry my sword everywhere. I used to memorize whole passages. That was me. I grew out of that simply because I didn't find that living that lifestyle was evil. I grew out of it because I matured and realized that the Bible does not contain the whole. It contains things in part. And that I had to live life and search other areas in order to find more pieces to the whole. And I also understand in my maturity now that I pretty much get it that we will never know the whole, because in this subjective sentient form that we find ourselves in, we will never be able to know true objectivity inside. I say this a lot. When a man is looking through a bubble, he thinks his vision is clear, but he's looking through a film that distorts and he's not seeing reality for what it is. And all the data and data sets that we can combine throughout the world in here will never be enough to prove anything, because this agitator protocol is very good at what it does. Therefore, being moored to something beyond the construct, I can rely on intuition and imagination to put truths together. And then when I do that, the construct has to reciprocate. And what I mean is, many of the things that I have discovered were by virtue of knowing the information was somewhere available, and I put it together in my mind, and then the construct provided me the bibliography. It provided me the book. I would always find books that confirmed basically what I was suspecting, sometimes years later, sometimes months later. But intuition is the predecessor of knowledge, and you will intuit truths long before you have the ability to prove them. It's just the way it is. Just the way it's the way it's always been. And one thing I learned in life is you cannot survive without coffee. Just can't do it. I don't know who Sabrina Wallace is. I know there's like 3 or 4 people really pushing her in my chat lately. I have no idea who she is. Let's see. Get on their ass, Amanda. Amanda Zilkin says there are 1,000 people who have not hit the like button. Well, I know one of them. One of them's Graham Hancock. He's not going to hit it. Let's see here. All right. Where am I at here? We're at 1 hour and 38 minutes. 1:38. That's pretty good. Let's keep going. Concerning AIX, different civilizations have painted it. It doesn't matter if it's Yahweh, the demon that popped out of a burning bush. It doesn't matter if it's Baal, Baal Haman. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Ahriman in the Iranian Zoroastrian traditions. Takes on different aspects. Jason, can you explain or demonstrate how you journal your notes? Well, let me see here. Let's see what we got here. Here's one folder. Got a whole bunch of them. What is this? Here's one folder right here. What's this? Just to show you guys that this is real. All right, there's 1, 2, 3. There's 5 folders here. These are all notes. I never stop researching. I'm sorry if you can't read them, but this is what my notes look like. I'm never going to stop researching, guys. It's so big, I can't flip these pages like I want to. Just keep going. These are all research notes. Just keep going. You can see all kinds of things in Sumerian. You can see Debunking. Oh, my notes show where I got the text from, like this one right here. This is an exegetical study I did breaking down all of the Earth chronicles of Zechariah Sitchin. 12 shows here's the 12th planet. Things I wrote out of there. I put the dates. I chronologically arranged Zechariah Sitchin's research because he didn't do it. I show the page numbers where the data came out. I use a calculator to determine a lot of, because I can only calculate. Calendrics is always factored on the calendar that culture used. This is the modern problem I have with almost every researcher today who assumes that they counted on a 365.24 system, and they didn't. This is how everybody was wrong about 2012 except Jason. Jason published a book before 2012 that basically explained 2012's bullshit. The Mayan long count does not end until 2046, and I showed the math, how it worked. So Greg Reese was impressed with that, and he did a little documentary and showed my research and my book, Anunnaki Homeworld, where I talk about that and showed it on Alex Jones' platform. And that was pretty popular for a while. I got some pretty good book sales out of that. But the deal is people just don't do the math. They don't get a calculator out and verify these things, especially those two scholars in 1952 who effed it up and published the 2012 end date to the Mayan long count. And all these people on the Mayan long count bandwagon put all these books out, and almost none of them survived after that. They just kind of all fell by the wayside. But there may be a couple of them. I don't know if Graham Hancock was on that. I won't say he was. I don't know if he was or not. But hey, Pops, I see my dad in there. Man, are you feeling those enchiladas? He ate enchiladas with me this afternoon, man. I've been feeling them ever since. They do not mix with coffee. Yeah, this is just one of my deals. I got real. Let me show you, guys. Let me show you. This is something different here, but these are so big I can't really flip to them in front of y'all. Look, this is all unpublished data. It's stuff I'm going to do videos on. But guys, I got a massive amount of research here, all chronologically arranged, all with source material cited. My handwriting is atrocious, but I'm left-handed and I print fast. I can read it real good. But yeah, guys, this is somebody asked about my research habits and my research journals and all that. Yeah, Don will tell you I have 5 folders right here that are all that size, but I also have a wooden crate full of trappers just like this, full of all kinds of other notes, all chronologically arranged. This is why I know, guys. This is why I can tell you these things with absolute confidence. It's why I can sit here and give a dissertation for 3 hours sometimes and tell you the exact dates and even how far apart they are and what calendars were employed, where I got the data from. The reason is because I do the research. I'm not watching 20 YouTube videos to put a video together and rehash a bunch of information. No, I'm doing real boots on the ground research, opening up books, cross-referencing, and I'm writing things down by hand, because when you write something down by hand, there is something about that process that lets you memorize that material. It doesn't work for a keyboard. It doesn't work for a keyboard. A keyboard is abstract. When I sit there and read something off of something, I've read it. I can say it out loud. I often talk when I write, and I'll sit there and write it down. This is why I got a lot of detractors. They're really just haters, but I got a lot of detractors that all claim that, I've had claims from people talking about my glasses have screens on the inside. They're technologically advanced, and Jason's reading from the inside of his screens. I got people saying that I'm reading from a teleprompter, and that's a damn lie. But I got people saying all these weird things. But what it really boils down to, it in this day and age, very few people can understand just how long 26 years is, 365 days a year, always reading and writing. My dad's in the chat. He knows. He sent me packages of books every single month for 26 years. That man did. And then when I got out of prison, that man told me, hey, remember all them red bags that you had me take home of all your research notes all these years? I said, yeah. He says, they're up in the attic. Man, I almost cried when I went up in that attic and saw all my research all that time perfectly saved and preserved. You guys have gotten the benefit of it. That's why Archaix is one of the most different venues in the entire world. No one else has published anything on the Phoenix phenomenon and so many other topics, and the perspectives are so different because I wasn't cross-contaminating myself with other people's research. I was in a prison cell absorbing raw data from all these old books. My old man sent me a package every month. Booktree sent me a package for 16 years, every month for 16 years. But I was also in prison surrounded by very old books in the possession of the prison libraries. Texas prison doesn't spend any money on libraries. They rely on the local churches to donate old books from colleges that are torn down. Texas prison started in 1849. It's packed full of books from the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s, 1880s, 1890s, early 1900s. It's packed because they're not going to spend any money on books for the. Well, as soon as a prison is condemned and closed down, they have inmates go box all those books up and take them to a newer prison library. Yeah, guys, there's no mystery here, guys. All it was sitting in a prison cell with a tremendous amount of time and an interest in what I was doing, and I was able to put all this data together. As simple as that. There's no mystery here. Okay, at what point in time will the Antichrist appear on the world scene? Remember, the elite are actually running a program. They're running a program. I believe it's 2036. I believe that the Antichrist will become publicly known in the year 2036 when he is 40 years old. In my Chronicon, I explain why I believe he was born in 1996. I got it all in there. If any of you are interested in Chronicon, and I will tell you that you guys know that I've been selling all my published books, not all of my published, but 5 or 6 of my published books I've been selling out of the house because it allows me to give a signature. I can put a free Phoenix sticker in there, a free brochure on the breaking of the first seal, the Greek breakdown. So people are ordering books. I'm throwing all this free stuff in there for them. Well, the T-shirts as well. When people order T-shirts, I've been throwing these free stuff in there as well. But real soon, I don't know. I got to talk to Dawn about it because she's got some help on the side. But real soon, I'm going to start the thumb drives again because we made them. You guys know I got a library drive with 7,147 PDFs of original old books and some new books that are really badass. Real, like some of the books I have here that we do videos out of that are from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. We got some of those on the PDF as well. But we're about to kick up the sales on those drives again because a lot of people y'all been asking about them. Also the images drives. John has literally taken thousands of pictures that cannot be found anywhere. Some of the books I have, like this one, only four copies of this book in the world. I've got a lot of books that have packed full of amazing photos and images. I put them all on the drive. As John takes them, edits them, we put them on the drive. It's got 32,400 images in it right now. I'll be selling that. And to make it easy, the original super pack was independent of the survival pack. For those of you who don't know, we combined them. Now it's just one drive, same price. It's just one drive, but it's two drives put in together, so you're getting 2 for 1. You're just paying the price of one drive, you're getting 2. We updated them to bigger drives. But for those of you who don't know, the super pack has everything I have ever done. All these research notes I just showed you are in the super pack. We made PDF files of all my research notes because I'm just never going to get to a lot. A lot of this stuff I'm not going to get to. Some of it I am, but I'm 50 years old right now. I told you I always got 500 more videos in me. So in case anything like an infrastructure takedown happens, for whatever reason, censorship occurs. You guys know things are in the works. You know, on January 1st, somebody needs to confirm this, but I heard that on January 1st, Google, which means YouTube as well, will be deleting all accounts that have had no activity for 2 years. Guys, that's a purge. And what I mean is I am personally aware of researchers who are no longer alive, but their families continue to pay GoDaddy and all that to keep their websites up and running. But there's been no activity on those websites, but all that data's there. Can you imagine how much data on January 1st Google is about to purge from the internet? Under the guise of accounts that have not been active for 2 years. Do you have any idea how many Facebook accounts will vanish? All the people that have passed away, all their accounts are just going to be gone. Because now, like I said, this is something that I've heard today. Somebody sent me a message and told me, "Hey man, look, this is what's going on. This has a lot to do with your internet takedown scenario." And they sent me information on the blackouts going on all over the world. So hey man, it's kind of all happening. It's just happening a little bit differently than you predicted, and I'm cool with that. I'm not always going to be right, and don't even care about it at this point. Like I said, it's just too late to be polite, and that even means to my critics. I just don't care anymore. I'm gonna put out my material as I want to put out, and everybody else can F themselves. That's the way I feel about it. Because I've got a lot of people who blow my email up just attacking. The Christian Reich is on my ass right now. I've got so many emails from triggered Christians who cannot stand the fact that I can so eloquently give out these dissertations, which to them translates that it's spirit, the Holy Ghost is operating out of me, and yet I keep talking about how evil the world's going to turn out to be when the Christian right takes over, and then starts this whole series of laws that's going to make civilization a really terrible place and nobody wants to live in. They've done it before, over and over and over. In the name of God, in the name of Jesus, you would not believe how many people were tied to a stake and lost their life through the smoke, watching the very community they were raised in sit there screaming and praying to God on what a good thing it was while they burned alive. All in the name of Jesus. So, let's see. Oh yeah, but I went on a tangent, guys. Kind of went on a rant, but the thumb drives are about to go back on sale, and we did that for you. The whole super pack is every unpublished book that I haven't had a chance to publish. All my published books, all the manuscripts are on there. My entire Chronicon is a massive. I've never stopped working on Chronicon. Chronicon is huge. History of the world in chronological order. It's huge. I have Babette's version in there. I need to contact her anyway. I sent her an email a couple months ago. I never got an answer back from her, but I need to contact her again. But Babette did a lot of work. Shiva Shampoo was on that project. He did a bunch of work on it as well. But I'm going to and Shiva, remind me, man, send me an email tonight, so because I need to send you a blessing for all your help. But also the super pack has all the images you've ever seen on my YouTube channel. All those videos, anything you've seen, it's on the super pack. Super pack survival pack has all that. All my research, 200 and something articles that I wrote. Some of them have been published on Facebook and all that. But my super pack and my survival pack has more information in there than you will ever be able to go through in your life. Yeah, took me 26 years to put it all together. So yeah, and it also has 2,000 PDF books, real valuable old books. But then the PDF library I have has 7,147 PDF books. So these four, I'm sorry, I only have 3 drives. The library drive of 7,000 books, the images drive, which is nothing but 32,400 images from the Archaix library, and a bunch I got from Martin. We traded images, and I got some from other people who have sent me drives, and I put it all together, arranged 100 images per file. It's 324 files. So it's to make it easy to download, because the earlier versions weren't easy. Yeah, it's just 3 drives. And then the Super Pack Survival Pack combo. For those of you who are trying to preserve information just in case anything happens, I think next week, she said something about releasing them next week. I can't remember. She's the boss. She's the boss. figure out what. But sometimes the boss can also, pour coffee. Like when someone who's not the boss runs out. Well, let's see. Jason. I hope that answered the question on the journaling of the notes. Because here's a better way to say it. Here's some books I'm going to go through recently. Hawaiian Legends of Volcanoes. When I read this small book, thank you, babe. When I read this small book, I'm going to read it because the Phoenix phenomenon always has volcanic activity involved. I may find a gemstone in this book on Hawaiian Legends. I don't know. I haven't even opened it yet. But I bought it because of the title and because it's about a 40-year-old book. So what I'm going to do is get out a pen and paper, and I'm going to write the title on the top of the page, the author, and then whenever I find something very interesting, I'm going to write out exactly what it is. I'm going to quote if it's a direct quote. I'm going to put my own mental notes with it, whatever I'm thinking, and I'm going to put the page number where the data is, and it might be 5 or 6 facts that are out of this book. And then I'm going to continue on because I don't waste any paper, and I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to go through this book. This is how I research. This book has nothing to do with volcanoes. I'm not going to stick with one topic. That's not how you discover things. If I wanted to know really core, deep material about Greek mythology, the worst thing I could do is go to a library and go through all the Greek mythology sections. That's the worst thing for me to do, because then I'm only getting through certain filters. The best amazing facts that I've ever pulled out were from books that had nothing to do with the subject matter. They were tangential material that was found in the text, such as I'm reading a book about ancient clockwork, about clock gears and clockwork and all that. And then it's in 1604, in Louis of Pistoia, or whatever his name is, Louis of Pistoia is mentioning about the clockmaker, and he's mentioning that on such and such night, in a storm, a part of a mudslide or something exposed an empty cavern. And the people the next morning after the rain and the sun came up went and looked in the cavern, and underneath a mountain in Switzerland, they found a perfectly preserved wooden ship covered in symbols they had never seen before. WTF. That right there is a gem. So I record the page number, who said it. I do some research on Louis of Pistoia, and I find out he was a politician and that his word was good, that he had credibility in the 1600s. I put all that down, and it's amazing. But this is how I research. I research multiple different topics at the same time. This one right here is Heroes and Hero Worship. It's an old book by Thomas Carlyle. Published May 5th, 1840. This old book right here. I'll go through this whole book. I'm going to find all kinds of gemstones about what this guy's talking about. Heroes and hero worship. Ain't going to have anything to do with volcanoes. But I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to go through this old book, The Story of Eclipses by G.F. Chambers. When I go, eclipses are times when the sun darkens. That's a part of the Phoenix phenomenon. I may find Phoenix-related data in here, or I might find something about the Greek Olympiad calendar I didn't know. I never know what I'm going to find. Therefore, every single book is an X factor, just like artificial intelligence X. For those of you who don't know, Archaix is an acronym. Advanced Research of Chronological History of Artificial Intelligence X. The X means unknown factor. That's it. Story of it. This is how I research. Now I'm gonna go through God's Graves and Scholars by Serum. Serum is a French author. This is translated in English, but this is going to be really good because Serum, C.W. Serum, he doesn't pull no punches. This man has no imagination whatsoever. Nothing but the facts, man. That's why I like Serum. Oh, there's my book there, Evolution Cruncher. I'm going to do some videos out of this book. I'm going to show you guys how much bullshit has been passed off as science. It's all in this book. This book is fantastic. Yeah, don't cite no carbon 14. Don't cite no potassium argon reading show that Gobekli Tepe is 8,500 BC. You get your Gobekli Tepe ass out of my face with that BS, because this book affirmatively proves, it shows the data that scientists are lying. They're cherry picking their They're cherry picking for the dates they want. The same thing Charles Fort said 100 years ago in that book there, right here. Charles Fort was real specific right here in the Book of the Damned. He said, that book right there, this is the complete works of Charles Fort. The first one's the Book of the Damned. In the Book of the Damned, he gave fact after fact after fact after fact of how the scientific establishment cherry picks when it comes to chronology. And I've showed you examples with like pre-pottery Neolithic by Leakey. Leakey invented the whole series of pre-pottery lithic, but they very cleverly omitted from Easter Island. Why don't you apply the same chronology to Easter Island? It didn't have any pottery either. It must be pre-pottery Neolithic. So why do you date those giant heads to be only 11 centuries ago when all the evidence is they're over 3,500 years old? Yeah. Scientific community is a bunch of charlatans. It's a bunch of people that pretend and feign to have an intellect and a knowledge base to back it up, and they don't. They don't. It's a bunch of morons to me. It's right here. I will be going through the zombie apocalypse. It's a Ladybird book. This is really a joke book. I'll probably do a small video just for a pattern break. But that's how I research. It doesn't matter what the book is about. I'm going to grab a book off the shelves. I'm going to grab a book, pull it out. I'm going to start reading. I'm going to go through it and pull the data out. I'm going to find gemstones in there that have nothing to do with the subject matter of the book. They're tangential material. And I'm going to present the data to you on YouTube like I always do. And you're going to be amazed. Like, wow, I didn't know all that. And I didn't know it either until I found it. But the ability to collate a massive amount of data only comes from the fact that I hand wrote a massive amount of data from all the books that I've read. There's no other way around it. That's the only reason I have this ability to recall facts, circumstances, and dates. It's the only reason is because I actually did the legwork. I've done it. I know my material, and I'm fascinated with not only chronology but history, all the behind the scenes things. That's why I can go through all the Earth Chronicles of Zechariah Sitchin and show you fact from fiction. It's very easy. That's why I can go through any one of Graham Hancock's books and show you exactly where the creative license is, what's pure imagination, what's absolute farce and bullshit, and what is fact. Because the facts are what tell you what everything else is fiction. Because anytime you want to promote a lie, you got to insert a few factual statements in order to promote it. There's no other way. Because a book that has nothing but lies will not be believed by anybody. But anyway. Woo! She brought me some hot coffee. That's my journal notes. Jason, where does the Tartarian narrative fit into the Phoenix timeline? Okay, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here. You've never seen me promote Tartaria. It does not matter that some of my best friends, I've got a really strong friendship now with Martin Leakey. A lot of it is just spirit. I recognize it. The spirit in me recognizes the spirit in him. All right. Tartaria, as far as what it was promoted as, 3, 4, 5 years ago on YouTube, is taken on a new form. Now it basically stands for alternative history. I do believe that a lot of these guys in this movement, including Martin, are dead accurate when they're pointing out all this evidence of ancient technology and technologies that have been suppressed in the last 500 years and then repackaged around the 1890s all the way to 1920s into the world we have today. Like 1902, the sudden appearance of air conditioning by a company called Carrier. Yeah, guys, 1902 has a lot of firsts, but I don't believe that. I believe it's just they brought that stuff back up to reintroduce to the infrastructure on the surface. These inventions have been around for a very long time, just like the one that I mentioned earlier that's shocking me. I just read it today in 1845, Scientific Antiquarian, where he's talking about a patent, how to petrify a human body in 2 weeks, how to turn a human body into a statue. I'm still blowing my mind on that one. So the Tartarian narrative, it's like taking a small geographical area, which is kind of large, actually, central East Asia, and then parts of Russia. Yeah, okay, it's pretty large. And yeah, there's a lot of anomalies in that area. This is the area of Samarkand, which is in the Conan narrative. You know, Conan the Barbarian. This is his area of the world, Samarkand, and Tartaria. But Tartary was no doubt an empire. And a lot of that area of the world had their histories erased, their libraries erased. Many of the people were put to the sword later behind the Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks did not just take over Russia in 1914, 15, 16, 17, all the way up till 1926 when they created the USSR and took the Christian Russian Romanov population and basically exterminated 22 million of dissidents in order that the rest of them would cower into submission and become atheists and then worship the state and not the creator. And they were no longer under Russia, Christian Russia of the Romanovs. They're now under the Bolshevik regime, which created the KGB and all that. And yeah, guys, this is terrible history. I talk about this in depth on Archaix TV. I don't really talk about it on YouTube much. But the Russian people have never been the enemy of the West or the rest of Europe. They never have been. It's not. Russia was a captured operation before the United States was. But yeah, Tartarian narratives is it's basically alternative history now. What it is. Jason, do you have a PDF isometric template we could use personally for ourselves? I don't know. I mean, I've showed you guys my prison history and how there was isometric projections everywhere involving my transfer from unit to unit, different events, riots, different times I went to ACR, administrative cell restriction. I was thrown in the dungeon. I went to administrative segregation. I got 12 major cases. I showed all the patterns that were in there. It's like, wow, it's like this was scripted. I'm living through a script. But as far as you yourself, I don't know how. I don't really know, man. I don't know. You would need to find signature events in your life that you knew this is a major event here. Therefore, you would before you can even find any type of geometrical patterns in your life, you would have to have the exact dates of those events. There's no other way around that. Once you have the exact dates of those events, then you would need to use a date calculator to ascertain how many days are between each of those events. You're going to see patterns immediately once you do that, as long as you have enough events, such as graduated high school, met your first love, married your first love, got your first good job that you really wanted, got the day you got fired, day you had an accident, you had your kid, you had a child, signature events in your life. Find out what the date is, and then use a date calculator from the day you were born. What was that number in your life? And then the next event, graduate high school or whatever, the next event is day one of the next timeline. The third event, graduate college, is the third timeline. It's day one. When you do a chart and you look, you're going to see patterns. You're going to see basically the architecture of the reality tunnel that is your life. And then from there, it gets even more complex because you're going to start realizing, damn, I need to record this day, this day, this day. You're going to pull up old paperwork and go, oh, wow. Okay, I got this old paperwork here when I got that huge loan to buy a house. That's a significant date in my life. You're going to enter that date. And then you're going to do a Microsoft Excel sheet and turn around and add all these dates. And then you're going to use Microsoft Excel. It's a learning process. And then you're going to have your whole life mapped out, and it's going to show you the past and the future. It's very compelling, but you got to do the work. You've got to first put a list of dates together of major events in your life, events where significant things happen to you or happen for you. You got to do that first. Then you run it through. You do the calculations from the day you were born, each event, and then the second event, you do the calculations to every other event after. Then the third event, calculations of how many days all the way. These days are very important. They're the only unit of time that's mentioned in the prophetic records of the ancient world. Everything was about the days of Noah, in the last days. You don't ever see any prophecies that talk about the last years. Yeah, lo and behold, in the last years, nothing. Not even the Viking Ragnarok. Not even in the Zoroastrian text. Bible's not the only one who did it. It's always last days, because in the end always refers to the beginning. And in the beginning, what do we have? We had the Sumerian Shar. We had the day count system, where all they counted was the turnings of the stars around Alpha Draconis, and that was a day. And once you reduce all the Sumerian mathematics to shars as they were intended to be interpreted, then all the historical records make absolute sense. Then you can put it all together and have something called Chronicon. It's amazing. I don't know what the Northern Lights are. That's not a part of the Archaix material. I just don't know. Is the Olympian calendar current and correct? All right. You got me with that one. Hold on. That is really interesting question, because I'm going to show you now. The first Olympiad is well known to history. 776 BC. That began the first Olympiad. The Olympics are far older, because at that exact same site at Olympia and further away, the Pythian Games, well, we have more ancient games that were at those sites. But it finally entered the historical record and became official in 776 BC. That's a real interesting question. So 776 BC was 1,463 years after the Great Flood. So 1,463 years, 1,463 plus 1656. Remember, 1656 was the Annus Mundi date of the Great Flood. Anytime you want to calculate anything over the AC BC conjunct, you have to use the Annus Mundi dating, because AC BC has no year zero, and everybody gets 1 year off. Every time they do it, they get 1 year off. So you go to the Annus Mundi dating to be precise. 1,463 years after the Great Flood was 776 BC, the first Olympiad. Now, the Great Flood happened in 1656. I don't have to convince you. You all know. All my Archaix veterans know 1656 is the Hebrew year for the flood. It is the year in the book of Genesis, the year in the book of Jasher. It is biblical chronologist Stephen Jones. And it's also a Phoenix year on the 138-year periodicity of the Phoenix phenomenon. 1656 is the Great Flood. It is the 600th year of the life of Noah. So, 1,463 years plus 1656 is 3119 BC. 3119 Annus Mundi. 3119 Annus Mundi is what it is. Therefore, 31, I'm going to write that down, because I don't want to get this too confusing. But that's 776 BC is 3119 Anno Mundi. I could have just pulled Chronicon out, but I'm going to do this long way. So we have the AM date. So now we know that this year of 2023 is the year 5917. I got a whole video about it where I show you the whole chronological breakdown. This is the year 5917. So 5917 minus 3,119. Let's do it. 5917 minus 3,109 is 2798 years. That means this year is 2,798 years from the first year of the Greek Olympiad. Now, Olympiads are every 4 years. This is the first year of the Olympiad. The Greeks counted in 4-year periods. They're called Olympiads. So 2798 years is 2023. Well, we need to go back 3 years to 2020. And that would be 2795. The problem is is the group the Olympiads are not a continuum from the ancient world. They were reinitiated in 1896. So 2020 is on the 1896 every 4-year timeline, but not on the original Greek Olympiads going all the way back. We just discovered something very, very interesting. This is how many Olympiads have passed as of this year. 600. Y'all can see it pretty good. 698.75 Olympiads have passed since the start of the Greek Olympiad calendars. What does that tell us? Well, -7. That tells us as of this year right here, we have 1.25 Olympiads left until precisely 700 Olympiads have passed. Now, but the Olympiads are 4 years, so this is a problem. What we're looking at is 1.25 Olympiads being 4 years and 0.25. Oh, that's going to be 5 years. 5 years after. So 5 years after 2023 is 2028. In 2028, we have the 700th Olympiad, and it is on schedule with the ancient World 776. This is pretty much indicative to me of something very, very important happening in 2028. And if I remember correctly, 2024 is the second seal, 2028 is the third seal. 2028 is the third seal. Remember, Greek Olympiads every 4 years. So I didn't even know that. It's 700. 7 is the number of completion. 10. So it's wow. That is crazy. That bears more looking into. I'm going to need to look into that more. But that's 2028 is the 700th year. No, excuse me. It's the 700th Olympiad, meaning the Olympiads have unfolded every 4 years for 700 times. That's interesting. Now what I'm going to have to do is go back and look at the period of the hiatus, because the hiatus, the Christian emperor Theodorus, I believe, he's the one that canceled the Olympics. And then they didn't resurface again until 1896, I believe. So that's really interesting. I need to go see about the time period that was cut out and then see the rest of the Olympiads. This is an interesting study. I'm going to do that next. And I know some of you guys are too. I'm going to look into that. Great question. Jason, where did everything in and outside of the construct come from? You know what? That's a first principle question. You're basically asking me about God. I mean, I don't know. I'm inside the construct with you. The only thing I can ascertain about outside the construct is what I've derived by virtue of inferences from ancient texts, modern texts, modern physics. What's basically being decided by the scientific community as to the nature of our reality. And I'm going to tell you guys more. Well, I've had to tell people in emails who are getting kind of aggressive with me. I've been telling them, listen, you can't argue simulation theory with me. You can't, or you just can't. I'm not the one that's trying to convince you from a professional standpoint that simulation theory is even real. You need to talk to Bostrom. You need to talk to the astrophysicists who have been putting papers out for the last 2 years saying that we're living inside of a construct. That's who you need to carry your argument with, because the Archaix data stands alone. I don't need simulation theory. This is chronological material. Simulation theory is my conclusion based off a myriad of data sets. But I'm not going to argue over the existence of simulation theory as if simulation theory has anything to do with the Archaix output. I'm not going to. It's meaningless. So, yeah, I don't know. You don't have to accept simulation theory to accept the Archaix output. Data sets stand alone. You can either believe them or not, but they're easily verifiable. But simulation theory is just my personal belief based off what I found, because none of this makes sense. We are inside an artificial construct. The very fact that I'm able to modify my reality and bring circumstances, people, and experiences to me by thought alone, and just a very little bit of activity, the way my life is developing, and how I've even been able to basically create a series of I don't want to call it contagion, but that's what it is. I can literally talk to people in my physical presence and get them on vibrating on my frequency till they understand exactly what I'm talking about. And then I see the change in their life as well. So therefore, what I'm saying is spirit can be contagious. And I've seen evidence of this. I've seen people literally absorb energy coming from me and then run with it and become something new. And I'm cool with that. But the very fact that I can observe this and experience it, and they can experience it, tells me that I do not live in a physical world. I can't. I live in a world of frequency. I live in a world of energy. Just like I told you guys the other day, quit thinking about money. Money is materialism. You got to think about what money can bring you. Yeah. Money is an abstract. It's an energy. If you regard it as something physical and you don't have it, then the construct is going to create the situation of you physically not having it anymore. Simple as that. It's a feedback loop. Now, the construct is very simple. It's very simple. When you regard it as an energy, then that energy is going to be attached to ideas for which the money is needed for. What the money is needed for are concepts the construct can build from. Yeah, it can build everything you want. The money was a conduit. It has nothing to do with being in your actual possession. Yeah, somebody else with money can be influenced to buy you the very thing that you seek. All right. Would the dormant phoenix be also of the same frequency as Mother Nature? There are two things about the phoenix phenomenon that we have to address before I can answer this. One of them is the solar minimum cycle of 11.5 years. Well, the 11.5 years when multiplied enough becomes 138. 138 is also representative of something that physicists admit is an anomaly. It's called the fine structure constant. The fine structure constant is represented as 137 slash an unknown variable, because it can't be measured. So far, we've never been able to measure it. It's somewhere between a whole 137 and a fraction and just under 138, but it's never 138. Well, in frequency, you wouldn't have a frequency, which is a vibration. You would not have a vibration unless that vibration had a terminal, abrupt point where it stopped so it can continue. Because if there's no breaks, there's nothing to measure. This is what the fine structure constant tells us. Astrophysicists and theoretical physicists agree that the fine structure constant is the underlying medium of our whole reality. And they don't know why, but it's 137 plus an unknown, but it's not quite 138. Thank you. That'd be enough, but it's not quite 138. Therefore, the Phoenix phenomenon represents the physical manifestation of a complete cycle of the fine structure constant, which happens to align perfectly with the 11.5 solar cycle. And the Phoenix phenomenon always darkens the sun. Now, I'm going into this detail because I'm going to redirect you now to Martin Leakey. On his own, with just conversating with me about different things and getting some ideas from me, and him researching my Phoenix phenomenon, on his own, he basically came up with the idea that the sun is a battery and a projector, and that the red dust that I'm always talking about, the red mud and red dust, is exactly what a battery does when it basically dies out. It emits this red crud. So he also noticed that the sun having changed color from yellow in our youth to white is showing signs of about to go out. And that maybe the Phoenix phenomenon has something to do with the world projector having to reboot, recycle. If Martin Leakey's theory is correct, then it explains the Phoenix phenomenon while also making sense of the 11.5-year solar cycle and the fine structure constants connection to this number 138. It's all very interesting to me. Flat Earth British, Martin Leakey, I think one of his last videos was about the sun fascists, the sun being a battery and a projector, and that it's going through its dying phase. And that when it goes through its dying phase, that's when these resets occur and these edits occur. The projector itself starts projecting the same reality, but now with differences, with edits. So yeah, this is the value of going through other people's research. I'm not going to cross-contaminate the Archaix output with other people's stuff, but I'm going to take other people's stuff into consideration to see if it fits or not. And Martin's idea is very, very compelling. I like it. I've never read The Cosmic Consciousness of Humanity by V.P. Kaznakashev. Never read it, so I don't know. And the reason I don't talk about Admiral Beard, somebody's asking me about Admiral Beard. Talking too much. Starting to cough. The reason I don't talk about Admiral Beard is because there's nothing I knew I can bring to the table that you don't already know or you can't already find from other channels and other researchers. It's not like an old book that I have read and studied. There's nothing new being brought to the table. He's been dead. There's no new research. It's all rehashed. Everybody's saying the same thing everybody else is saying. So I really don't know. I don't know to what extent Admiral Byrd did anything. I just don't. I do know that I read in a publication from 1849, I read that there was a city 5 degrees away from the North Pole called Junga. It even provides a illustration of the city layout. If you guys want to see that on Facebook or something, I'll post it. It's crazy. This is a scientific periodical. I'm getting a lot of the same questions. Is there still a First Nations presentation in the near future? Yeah. Guys, I'm at 2 hours and 30 minutes almost. I'm going to go ahead and stop. We got more questions on here. I have some presentations I got to get through. Like Tuesday, 2 days from now. Tuesday, we're going live, but it's going to be the final act in the Flood of Ogyges series. It's the epic Flood of Ogyges. This is the one that I'm going to show you, and the ancient text and historians that actually mentioned Ogyges and mentioned the Flood of Ogyges. This is the one where we go into the detail about what happened, what was actually seen. This is basically a window into the ancient world of what they saw in the sky when the Phoenix phenomenon appeared in 1687 BC in the month of May. I've already done 4 videos showing you the extent of destruction around the world. What happened? What I haven't done is shown you what happened to the Mediterranean and North Egypt, North Africa and the Near East, and what ancient records were all talking about this. That's how we're gonna end that series. And I'm not done with the Phoenix phenomenon. We got way more Phoenix videos together to go. But like I did with different years now, I'm singling out different years and giving you multiple presentations on them. And the Flood of Ogyges was one. The next one we're going to is the Great Flood. After that, we're going to do multiple videos on the Great Flood in 2239 BC. And we're going to go, I'm going to be pulling out notes that I haven't read in years and things I have. I've got so much data that I can't even tell you what we're going to be putting in those videos. Because I know there's vapor canopy data. I know there's all kinds of archaeological data, scientific material that I've forgotten about. But when I pull all these notes out for these videos, we're going to be learning this together because a lot of this material is all scattered. I'm not even going to have it all together until I'm ready to present the video and I'll look at my syllabus. So that's what we're going to be doing, guys. It's Flood of Ogaiji's next. That's Tuesday night, Tuesday afternoon or so. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. We'll do another Q&A, but we're going to wait about a week. And I still have these questions that I didn't answer. I'll still continue these and then take new questions as they appear in the chat. She gave me 3 pages right here. I got them. So your questions are going to get answered. They just can't get answered tonight's video. So we have answered all the questions from the first video, at least the ones that were put on paper. So thank you guys for joining me. And we have no outro music because I'm not in my app. I didn't do StreamYard. I went straight into YouTube to do this. I'm gonna start doing them from StreamYard so I can present some material and stuff. But you guys know I'm gonna wait for about an hour for the chat to appear, and when it does, I'll be going through the chat. I always do. I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation, but I'm about done for the night. I'm gonna peace out. Love you guys.